So as we can see, networking is already working. Wherever there's coffee or something to drink, like a water, there we go. But now, please, let's concentrate to the stage for mastering the waves for maritime autonomy, keynote presentation. We'll be talking about ensuring spectrum dominance, monitoring the spectrum, then techniques for detecting, locating, and countering non-cooperative drones, and also practices for measuring and monitoring network coverage and performance. So please welcome Vice President for Critical Infrastructure and Networks at Rohde & Schwarz, Stephan. Anne, welcome to the stage. And let me remind you that you can write your questions in the comment part of our platform and just send it as a question or ask to the moderator. Anne, there you go.
Thank you so much, and welcome to the presentation. It's my pleasure to be back to Riga. Since day one, we are part of the 5G Techvatory, and congratulations to the organizers. It's really amazing to see what the 5G Techvatory is these days. So let me start with a brief introduction. The company Rohde & Schwarz is a technology company, and we are a trusted partner for across the complete telecommunication industry and defense economy system globally. We are also known as a pioneer in new technologies. We hold more than 2,700 patents, and we invest yearly a double-digit percentage of our turnover into our R&D. So the topic today is about maritime autonomy. What is maritime autonomy about? It's about using of advanced technologies in order to have remote operation and ship operation with limited or without any human interaction. What's the benefit of this? So this is vital for the global and also for the trade development. It brings efficiency increase in many areas. It also helps with the safety aspects. We learned about sustainability this morning. This topic will also have a huge improvement on the sustainability. And if you look at all of that factors together, this will help to bring the costs down. There are enormous costs in that topic at the moment, so therefore that's a business driver behind it, that it helps you to bring the costs down. What is needed in order to realize that topic? It's digitalization. Is really one of the key topics. A digital infrastructure and digitalization transformation in order to realize that topic. Is that a topic of today? There are test beds already. I would rather call it a future topic. So test beds today, if you look at Riga, the Freeport in Riga is having some of the test beds. Already 3 years ago in Denmark, there was a test bed taking care about and having actually a ship using certain stages of autonomy going around. And if you look further at it, you might discover some parallels, or you can also call it a déjà vu from what we have done when we talk about the autonomous driving. Because similar to here, when you refer to autonomy, maritime autonomy, you refer to the maritime autonomous surface ships, so MASS. So also here we talk about autonomous ships. And similar to what we have seen in for the autonomous driving area, there are different levels of autonomy are specified, starting from what we have today, like you have a captain on board, you have certain assistance system, like maybe an autopilot, towards the end stage. And the end stage is the stage where the ship is fully controlled and is able to do completely autonomous decisions and is completely able to operate independently. That's the final stage. And you see from where we are today until the final stage, there are some steps we have still to do. And if you look at starting from step 2 that we have today, that includes a remote monitoring, that will require connectivity and that will require a communication infrastructure, enabling you to transfer huge amounts of data. having low latencies to guarantee fast reactions based on what you see on the data. So many of these topics you are already aware from other 5G areas where those topics are needed. So from a technology point of view, how you realize that. Already today you have a bundle of different technologies that you can use focusing on the communication infrastructure to realize them. Could be mobile communication, could be terrestrial, non-terrestrial. So you have here a good selection already. What else is important when we talk about realizing the topic? So we talked about the technology aspect, and I want to touch one further point on the technology. Having already today a great selection of technologies, you can even think about having a private network, a 5G private network on the ship, enabling a communication network for you or bringing up a data network for you. And having that multiple technologies can also help you to provide a reliable setup. Because we take that example, it was mentioned this morning, with not being able to get positioning signals here because of spoofed GNSS signals. So you are no longer able to get your positioning signal from a satellite. You use maybe a different technology. You can either use a 5G broadcast technology to get your position, or you can use a direction finder technique to determine the position of the ship. So also having the choice of multiple technologies gives you the opportunity to have fallback scenarios and to improve your reliability on that. To touch on another aspect, what is important to know? So we talk about the technology later on as well, but regulatory aspects. In many of these technologies, you have regulation in place. We heard a lot of things about regulation this morning. But also regulation means it's not just having the rules and the regulation in place, it's also having someone taking care that these are being followed. So usually this is done by the regulation authorities. They are a kind of a supervisor. Who is the supervisor in that scenario here when you have the combination of multiple technologies? When you need a clear spectrum, you can maybe not rely on a spectrum regulator to take care about that the spectrum is clear on the ocean. So you need to think about some of the aspects. Maybe it's your responsibility, or maybe a group needs to get together to take the responsibility that is taken in other areas by a regulation authority. And we also heard about this morning about many of the geopolitical aspects. When you are about to start realizing that topic, at the moment it's a very dynamic environment that we are having also on the oceans. So in some areas in the Red Sea, no one is sending ships today because there are certain threats that can occur there. And when we talk about threats, let me share a selection of potential threats that you need to be aware of when you start realizing the topics. And important is, those threats should not prevent you from realizing the topics, but important is you are aware that these threats are existing and that you know how you can counter the threats. Because many of these threats, they can be easily countered today already. So we talked about that there is there is interference that is having an influence on the clearance of the spectrum, that is having an influence on your communication links, that is simply disturbing your communication. There could be spoofing, we already heard about that. There could also be intentional and unintentional threat, could also be due to weather issues. You can no longer see the satellites. All of these things you have to take into account. There can be physical threats. It's very easy. We also heard about in the opening from the gentleman from Ukraine yesterday evening that with very tiny, small little drones flying just shortly over the water, you can either have a physical attack on a vessel, or you can also take probably equipment that is putting interference to something, or that is stealing the data that you are generating on the ship. So this is just a small selection of threats that we are seeing here. The good news is, for many of these threats I have listed here, there are solutions available today, and these solutions are in practical use. They are used by spectrum operators, they are used by regulators. So if we focus on the communication and if we focus on the digitalization infrastructure here, if you need to look for interference, you have to ensure that you have a clear spectrum being able to process the data that you need to get the ship into autonomous shipping mode. So for interference, you can check with a continuous monitoring about how is the spectrum looking like. You can even found the interferers. If there is a drone coming and crossing around and want to steal your data, you can also get this kind of intruders into your environment. You can easily find that, and you can also take countermeasures, because the one thing is to find that there is something wrong, the other part is to solve it out. So for the spectrum, that's one of the aspects that's quite easy to do. Another topic, when we talked about the drones before, the drones are really powerful. So we heard about it could be a physical attack, but it could also be that there is a drone coming for maintenance. So the first thing when we talk about how to look at the drones is to detect the drone, but then also to classify the drone, to understand, is this probably just a regular maintenance drone? Is this a drone that shouldn't be there where it is? Is the drone approaching my ship? So what to do with that? And then you need to counter the drone. And if that is a drone, for example, carrying some equipment and jamming your signals, you can easily counter that drone. You can also detect where the pilot of the drone is sitting in some of the scenarios. And the equipment is already in use. It's also mission-proof today that we have here. For this kind of scenarios, the good thing is the solutions, they are also mobile. So you can create the solutions on the ship directly by yourself. Another example, when we stay with the communication infrastructure, you need to have full coverage. Like with your mobile phone today, the operator is taking care about guaranteeing you a coverage. We also heard that in the discussion before. So how can you guarantee a coverage by yourself? There are tools available to do a measurement of the coverage. And interestingly, this goes beyond the terrestrial network. So also for a non-terrestrial network, with an easy scanner, you can check for the satellite, for the LEO satellite signals there. You can see the bursts in the measurement. So with the satellites, you have a great coverage on the ocean. You have with the LEO satellites, you have the topics on the data transmission here. But with the same solution, that gives you a chance to measure also your coverage. Also, that's easy. You can even put that solutions on a drone and fly around your ship and make sure that on the ship you have the good connections here. And thinking a little bit further, and I want to show in a video right now what could also we take into account is we look at the naval forces, because many of the topics I have not touched here are also getting a topic for maritime autonomy. Like the data that you are having on the ship, you need to protect the data. So if someone wants to steal the data or listening in the data, so cybersecurity is also a topic here. Let's have a brief look how this looks on the naval forces ship, what they have today. Not sure. And looking into that area, we can also learn from what technologies are they using. If you look at VHF, UHF technologies, they are great with data. They are great with latency. So this offers another opportunity on technologies that can be used in realizing these type of things. And also, it's nothing new. Everything is already in operation. Important here is when we look at the different aspects of realizing this kind of a topic, that we are aware what is the potential of the technologies that we have. But when realizing it also, what do we need to be aware? Specifically, when we talk about communication, what is our task in realizing them? So 15 minutes is not enough to talk in more details about their topics, but I'm really happy if you are later on here, reach out to me to come up with further questions. It's a fascinating topic, and it's a topic that let's make this real together in a safe, in a secure, and in a really reliable way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you. So there could be some questions in the audience, so just put up your hand, please, in case you do have. We have a microphone ready for you. Or, like Anna said, you can approach her if you have really intimate question on your business or business opportunities. So, but before you go, we saw that wonderful visualization on how things are working and looked like some kind of Star Wars to me. So are you saying that it is possible these days, with all the frequency congestion, with all the countermeasures of countermeasures, with very rapidly evolving technologies, to really be on top of it?
That's an excellent question. It's not easy to answer that question. I think we have to strive to be on top of it, because also not just the technology is developing further, also the threats are developing further. And I think that's the key part. So if you look what is happening in the drone sector at the moment, it's a rapid development that's happening there.
Crazy.
So in order being able to keep detecting the drones and being able to counter them, we have to speed up with our development here as well. So it's really this, I think it's our goal we need to be ahead of it, right? Can we manage it all of the time? I think there are enough news in the press that shows sometimes the threats are better than we, but then we have to keep it up, we have to keep it going. Mm-hmm. It's this continuous run here with the technology.
Are you sure that we even know everything what is going on there somewhere on air in different frequencies? Are we aware?
I would love to say, yes, of course we are. No, of course we are not, right? And I think that's normal, because the things are developing in many areas. If you look back, for those of you started in the mobile technology, like a 2G technology was. At that time, if someone would have said, picture 15 years in the future, would you have been able to imagine what you do with your smartphone right now? No one is, but I think therefore it was touched on partnerships and on working together many times today. And I think that's what a forum like this also makes the difference, that we put the brains together and develop things, develop ideas, and also keep it and strive it together and share the knowledge that we have.
Yeah, and sorry for mentioning Star Wars. A lot of their technology is absolutely obsolete. Yeah, that's gone. Thank you very much, Anne.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure to be here. Thank you.